Purdue goes into Wisconsin and wins this one 75-69. It was a big game. Many were highly anticipating it, so much so we previewed it like 5 days before the game, even before the Nebraska game, which, Wisconsin fell to. So won't bring that back up, Wisconsin. That's okay. We know you're not too happy about that one, but I'll let our guest Ryan have the floor first. Ryan, what were your thoughts on the Purdue win over Wisconsin?
Yeah, it kind of went how I anticipated it to go. It's funny, like all I think about all day after the game was on Twitter. Like Purdue fans were more mad than anyone else about the foul calls and the refs stuff like that. I'm like, y'all still got the calls, y'all still won the game. I kind of understand a little bit of it, but I hate that is always a takeaway from the Purdue games. But that's just kind of the world we're living in at this point. But it was good. Like the game was going to be one of those classic Big Ten dogfights with more quality than we see in maybe like the Maryland Michigan State game, which we'll get to obviously. But it was exactly how I anticipated it to go. It was close the entire time. Wisconsin stayed true to it. I thought AJ Storr would give me a little more in the second half, of course, but kind of is what it is. And I did not expect the balance that Purdue gave. Obviously, we don't really see that super often, at least. So.
Yeah, it was definitely a good game by Purdue, and I think one of Purdue's better defensive efforts of the season, especially for knowing Wisconsin. You might look at 69 points and think, oh, is that a good defensive effort? Well, against Wisconsin, who can score 80, sometimes high 70 points up there. Yeah, it's a pretty good defensive performance from them. Ken, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, about the officials, first off, I was thinking about going back and watching this game and doing a full breakdown on Twitter of every single call that I thought was a call and what wasn't a call. None of your guests have ever done that before, right, JR?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. I was just making sure. I'm going to do that tonight, so you guys be on the lookout for that on my channel.
Okay.
No, in all seriousness, no, we talked about this last week when I was on Wednesday, that I thought if Wisconsin split with Purdue, that they still had a chance to win the regular season championship. And now that they've lost this one, I'm fully off that because I wasn't anticipating them losing to Nebraska as well. So with that back-to-back, I think it's kind of out of reach for them, with them still having to finish the season at Purdue still. So I think that's kind of a lost hope for them now after this game. This was a huge game for that. So to me, I think the Big Ten championship regular season is over, and that took place today when Purdue won. Now, had Wisconsin won this game, there was still a shot for that to be kind of a battle, but that's all over now. But yeah, just like a really rough week for them. Like I said, overtime loss to Nebraska, and then this game today. But as far as Purdue, man, I just can't say enough good things about Lance Jones. I love him. I think he just does so much for their team. I've talked about him a lot before, but not only his scoring, but he can rebound. He can get those loose balls for you, and he's been pretty good defensively as well. So loving what Lance Jones is doing, and then it's just the same old guys every game for them. It's Zach Edey and then Braden Smith, which I know people think I don't like Braden Smith. I do. We played a game a few weeks back where we had to switch somebody from Michigan to Purdue's team, and I said that I'd switch Doug and Braden, and people got pretty upset with me. But I like Braden Smith. I think he's a good basketball player. But yeah, good game for this was huge for Purdue. Like I said, I think it's the Big Ten championship today, and I think it's over now. I am still excited about the rematch or rematches, because I still think there's a good chance that not only are they going to finish the season playing against each other, but they might play in the Big Ten championship too, which would be amazing. It'd be great to see this game 3 times this year. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I can already hear the Illinois fans yelling at you saying that Purdue has it over with and that it's done because Purdue still travels to Illinois, right? I think they go.
Yeah, okay.
They still go there. But yeah, no. I agree. I think Purdue has this locked up unless they have some kind of downward spiral or something like that, where Zach Edey just starts getting in foul trouble in games and teams are able to capitalize on that. But even that, I don't think is a guarantee that a team is going to be able to capitalize on that. I was surprised from the Wisconsin fan base reaction that I was seeing on Twitter. I kind of felt like Ryan did, where I was looking and I was like, man, AJ Storr's not doing enough in the second half here. He's not that scorer. He's not that playmaker that you really have seen AJ Storr to be. Now, I think, like I said, Purdue was playing good defense on him and they had some good answers in the second half. But a lot of the Wisconsin fans were coming at my guy Chucky. All right. They were coming for Chucky and saying he wasn't doing enough. He wasn't shooting enough or whatever. I don't know. It was kind of mixed criticism all around. Ryan, did you have any more thoughts on AJ or thoughts on Chucky at all?
Yeah, I mean AJ, like he's a score first kind of player. Like he's the most talented player, I guess, on the floor, really on both teams, honestly, and that's majority of Big Ten games, maybe every game. So he's gonna have those nights. It's like any basketball player that you've seen as a wing scorer, where they're gonna shoot 20% from the field every now and then, but you got to keep shooting. You got to try to work through it, especially when you're losing. So it kind of just is what it is. It was on the wrong night. They played against a good defensive team. Chucky's my guy too. I was out there. I can't even do math. I was out there like a week and a half ago with Chucky doing some stuff. Super great dude. I understand why people want more from him because he is their leader on and off the floor. He's their point. He has the ball in his hands all the time. But his role isn't to score 20 points a game or try to score 20. I know that's frustrating to hear maybe, but I didn't think he played awful. He does so many little things on the floor that keeps them in games like this in terms of steals and assists and playmaking and stuff like that, and just gritty defending against Braden Smith on like the pick and roll and getting around Zach Edey, even though he's half the size of him, to try to defend Braden when he gets into that lane. But I get it. I kind of get it. You want more, but it's not his role, and he's not going to give you 25 every single night. And that's why I think a guy like AJ Storr is there. But I thought Chucky was still pretty good for the most part. Like I don't think he turned the ball over at all in the entire game, and he still had a few assists and did what he was supposed to do. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tyler Wall and AJ Storr, I mean, and Max Klesmith, those are really those guys that you need to lean on for the scoring. To me, Chucky Hepburn brings that good, strong defense. You know, he's kind of annoying in the passing lanes. And what was it? Nebraska just 2 nights ago, he had like 2 steals in a row, back to back in possessions, and was able to go down and get buckets that way. So, I don't know. I don't get the Chucky hate personally after this game. I get you want a little bit more from him. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Kit, we saw Zach Edey struggle a little bit early in this one. He was not doing kind of his normal stuff. In fact, he wasn't even the leading scorer in this one. Lance Jones was the leading scorer at all. So I'm not going to ask if you have any concerns about Zach Edey, but I did feel like Wisconsin hit in some areas here that was able to not take down Zach Edey, but minimize him more than I have seen other teams do so, especially with him on the defensive end with what Wisconsin was doing. Kit, do you have any concerns going forward about what Wisconsin was able to do to Zach Edey, and if other teams are going to be able to figure that out too?
I don't have concerns about it, and if you're a Purdue fan, I don't think you should be concerned either, because it's happened a few times this year. I remember I came on the night after the time that they played Michigan, and I thought Michigan did one of the best jobs actually guarding Zach, but it doesn't matter because there's so many other guys that can score for that team that even if he gets shut down like completely, Purdue's just got too many dudes that can, pick up where he's leaving some slack, I guess, if you would call it. But he is still very difficult to guard. He's still a guy that, when coaches are prepping for this game, they have to put in a ton of scout work on what they're going to do and game plan around him, no matter what. And even if you do game plan around him and you can shut him down, like I said, there's just too many other guys. So I'm not concerned for the team in general. I guess if you're concerned about his points per game or something like that, that might be there might be some tape out there now that has shown that there's ways to neutralize him. But yeah, I'm not concerned for Purdue. I was going to go back to the Chucky thing too. For Wisconsin fans, I'm confused, like why you are mad now about this. Like he's played like the same his whole career. Like nothing's really changed. There's no reason to be like up in arms after this game. Like how come he didn't score more? Like he did exactly what he's always done for them, and it's worked out pretty good for Wisconsin so far. So I don't know why you'd be mad about it now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was less efficient in this one. He was 1 for 6 and 0 for 1 from 3-point. But then again, he was also 4 for 4 from the free throw line. So, but I think he also did what you kind of expect a guy to do when he's shooting and he's not hitting shots, kind of is what it is. And he moved on from there, and he still had 2 steals in this one. 3 fouls, which isn't awful or anything. So, I don't know. What fans are thinking so much about it, because I'm kind of with you, Kent, where it's like it's kind of what he's done all season. Sure, he's a little bit less efficient, but it is what it is. Last question on this game, Ryan, before we move on from the next one. Wisconsin, 2 losses in a row, 1 at Nebraska, one of the hardest places to play in the Big Ten this year, and 1 at home to Purdue. Are you having any concerns about Wisconsin going forward here?
No more than like they played the way they're supposed to play, and that's kind of just like the Big Ten scheduling. It just kind of is what it is. And like, yeah, you want to win that game at Nebraska, and of course you want to win every game at home because they're a top 10 team in the country. It hurts probably in the short term, but give it a week when they win another game or two next week and stuff like that, and they'll be fine and they'll completely forget about this. It doesn't really set them back, especially with a lot of other top 10 and 15 teams losing this week, where they won't dip in rankings too much if people really care about that much, which I know fans definitely care about that for whatever reason. If 1-2 spots difference, we should be 12 instead of 13 or whatever. But it's not much a worry. There's no major red flags in these two losses, right? Like they played for the most part into the game situation and what they had to, and it kind of just didn't fall their way. So they should be fine. I wouldn't be worried too much.
Yeah, what do you think, Kent?
Yeah, I'm right with him. I think that they've shown enough this year that they're a strong team, and I'm not concerned about either one of these losses. Like you said, Nebraska's a tough place to play in. By the way, they were up by a lot during that game, so they were playing pretty well. Most of that game. I will say, I know we're not going back to that game. That was the first time, as far as concerns, that Nebraska game was the first time I saw them look shook for a minute. Like they looked like they were not doing what they normally do, and they looked kind of out of sorts. But besides that, I've never seen that happen before. If they can shake that off, I think they'll be fine. They're fine.
Yeah, Jeff letting us know here, KenPom has Illinois losing 3 more and Wisconsin losing only 1 more. That's what I was going to do next real fast before we move on, is kind of go through the schedule. I mean, at Michigan next, that's a win, right? At Rutgers.
This is Wisconsin's schedule or Purdue?
Wisconsin's.
Okay.
At Michigan, at Rutgers. I say those are both wins.
Whoa. I'm from Jersey out here. We defend the rack with our heart, okay? I'm not a Rutgers fan, but it's a tough place to play. I'll give them that. Come on.
We have been called a Rutgers podcast in football, so I feel like I have to bring that over a little bit in basketball. I'm all for Rutgers. I don't really think this is their year, just because unfortunately the stuff going on with losing players. But man, if I was a Rutgers fan, I'd be so hyped to be getting the 2 guys coming in. What was it? Harper and
Dylan and Ace, yeah.
Yeah, Dylan, yeah. Bringing them in. So I mean, no disrespect, Rutgers fans.
That's fine.
I'm very much for you next year, but Ohio State lost. Everybody's going to beat Ohio State for the rest of the year. So that's my thoughts on Ohio State. At Iowa, win, right? I mean, we're going to call that a win. Maryland, Ryan, what do you think? Home against Maryland?
Home against Maryland, they'll win that game, yeah.
Yeah. At Indiana, I don't think Indiana's all that good. We'll talk about them later. Home against Illinois, home against Rutgers, and then at Purdue. I feel like KenPom probably has that 1 loss against Purdue, and that's probably it. Don't you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll probably it's the Big Ten though. Also, I think KenPom also has everybody within the top 100, even Michigan, Rutgers, or maybe really close, just outside top 100. So the bottom of the league is so tough. Where we see it every year. The Big Ten, they just beat down on each other, and yeah, it's good for your quad 1 games, for your strength of schedule to get extra teams in the tournament, but it just kind of demoralizes you, and you play styles that you aren't going to be playing every single game in March, because teams don't play like this, and that's why the Big Ten has struggled so much in March in the last few years. So they might lose 2 or 3 games the rest of the way, and it's still going to be a very, very good end of the season for them, because that's just the nature of the Big Ten. If they lost at Rutgers, Illinois, and Purdue and won every other game, they're fine. They're going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, I agree. I could see one more loss in there or something. Illinois will probably give them a good game. But yeah, you're right. The Big Ten is tough, and you can never count a full win or fully count it on a win in these games. So, all right, good stuff there. Let's move on to the next one. Listen to the Big Ten Huddle. Please do like and subscribe. We appreciate that. If this was your first time listening, we are the Big Ten Huddle. We cover all things Big Ten football and basketball. We have a long episode every Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night, all at 9 o'clock. So come in, check us out, get in the chat, let us know what you're thinking. We would love to have you join us and learn more about the Big Ten.